Good morning, y'all. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Look what my daughter brought me this weekend. Is that beautiful or what? It has stayed pretty already for 3 days, so I'm just loving it. And it definitely looks like a beautiful fall flower. And let me move it out of the way here so we can get cooking. I am going to be making pumpkin pie today. I have two very different recipes for pumpkin pie. And I don't know if I've told y'all or not, but my goal for 2022 is to get a cookbook published. So I'm trying to narrow down the recipes that I'm going to put in it. So I'm doing taste tests here so I can know which one of these pumpkin pie recipes I like the best, or that Bob likes the best, or my friends like the best, and that's the one that I will probably put in the cookbook. However, I may put both of them out on my web page. I am going to be taking photos and stuff so I can print those on the web page with my recipe. So anyhow, let's get started. This one is a little bit different. It's not like the one on the can of pumpkin that you usually see. This one actually calls for different ingredients. So, and it says for us to mix it in with a wire whip. We're just going to stir it with a wire whip. But I want to show you first. I took regular refrigerated pie crust and put it in a pie shell. So this is all ready for the filling once I get it going. So let me get my bowl and I'll be right back with you. I thought I had it out here, but I don't. So hold on. Okay, I'm back. I've got my oven preheating over here on 425, and because we start this pie off at 425, and then after about 15 minutes we'll turn it down to like 350. But we're going to get started here. The first thing, of course, is a can of pumpkin. So this is just regular organic pumpkin that I have here. You can buy any kind of canned pumpkin and use in this recipe. Try not to leave any of it in the can, because it's all good. I don't know if y'all have been experimenting with pumpkin, but you can use it in so many recipes other than just pumpkin recipes. There's a muffin mix that you can just use it as the mixer in it. Okay, so there's the pumpkin. And now here's the other ingredient. It's the good old condensed milk. I use the Eagle brand. You know, when I was a kid, I used to just love to scrape this right out of the can and eat it. We'd lick the tops even after Mom cut the can open. It's just like so full of sugar. Therefore, we're not going to have any sugar that's going to go in this recipe. It's only what's in this condensed milk is what goes in this recipe. So a little bit different. Yum. See, I'm tempted now to lick this can. All right, so I'm going to stir this up just a little bit with my spatula. Sorry about that. Kind of noisy. All right, now add 2 eggs. I've already cracked the eggs. Got them here. So I'm just going to whip this up. Get it mixed pretty good, and then I'm going to add the spices in. Okay, so the spices, it's a ½ teaspoon of each of the spices plus ½ teaspoon of salt. So here's my ½ teaspoon of salt. And then I'm going to add a ½ teaspoon of cinnamon, ½ teaspoon of ground ginger, and a ½ teaspoon of ground nutmeg. So that's it. whip it up, and then we're going to pour it over here in the pie pan. Ginger. Barely have enough nutmeg. Okay. Alrighty. Now it smells like pumpkin pie. I noticed on my other pumpkin pie recipe, instead of nutmeg, it had cloves. To me, cloves are a good bit stronger than nutmeg, but we'll be able to taste the difference when I cook the other one too. So that's it. That's all that goes in this. There's nothing else. Just pour it right on into the pie plate. Let me get the pie plate back here where you can see. And this is a deep dish pie plate, so you'll need that. Otherwise it might overrun. Okay, I think that's it, y'all. Okay, so this is ready, and you saw how quick this was to put together. So it's ready. I'm just gonna throw it here in the oven, and it's gonna bake for 15 minutes at 425. Then I'm gonna turn it down to 350 and bake it for another like 30 to 45 minutes, something like that. So I'll get back with you in just a little bit. Hey y'all, I just turned the oven down to 350 and put the timer on for 35 minutes. So we'll see in a little bit how the pie is looking. I'm going to keep my eye on it, because if it starts to brown too much around the edges of that crust, I'm going to make a little tinfoil wreath to kind of lay over it to keep that crust from burning around the outside. It already looks beautiful. I peeped in at it, and it looks great. It looks like it's already formed a kind of a crust over the top of the pumpkin part, and the actual crust of the pie shell was already starting to turn brown. So it's gonna be good, I know it will. But anyhow, I want to let y'all know, and of course most of you already know, that as well as cooking, one of my other favorite pastimes is sewing, and especially making quilt tops. So over the last month and a half, I have started a quilt guild for our area. And it's just basically just a group of women who like to get together and share their love of quilting and kind of preserve the history of it and the integrity of it. Anyhow, we do machine quilting, most of us, but there are some who still do some hand quilting. I just don't have the patience for that myself. But anyhow, I will be posting some photos of some of the beautiful quilts that some of the ladies brought last Saturday to our meeting for our show and tell, and they are gorgeous. We have some very talented ladies in the group already. We have, I think, about 36 or 37 members now after having just 2 meetings, so we're real excited about it. And the name of it is the Sorority Sisters Quilting Guild, and that's S-E-W Rority Sisters Quilting Guild. So it's kind of fun. You're welcome to go out to our Facebook page and look at things. We have a website, sororitysisters.com. Just remember it's S-E-W instead of S-O. So it's kind of fun, and you know, it's good at our age to really build those friendships, because as we begin to, you know, health decline or losing a spouse or becoming a shut-in, it's just nice to know that somebody cares, and has some of the same interests that you have. So anyhow, I just wanted to let y'all know about that. Just me talking here, but it is good to have good, godly friends, and we're really enjoying it. And in my sewing group at my church, which is called Sew Blessed, S-E-W Blessed, we are actually using as our devotional each week now the Women of the Bible. It's a quilt that's got quilt blocks for the women of the Bible, and that is really inspiring and really fun too. So we're just trying to have a lot of fun with it, just an extra hobby that we all have. So anyhow, I may put some of that in my cookbook next year. It may not be just a cookbook. It may be just an At Home with Gigi book. Anyhow, I just want to let y'all know that. I'll talk to you in a little bit when that pie gets ready. All right, y'all, I just took it out of the oven, and I want to show you how I was testing it. I wound up cooking it 45 minutes because you want to make sure when you stick your knife in, it comes out clean like that. Nothing stuck to it. So it took a while before it got to that point. I tested it at 35 minutes. It wasn't ready. I tested it again at 40. It wasn't quite ready, so I gave it another 5. I also wound up putting this tinfoil thing that I made to protect my crust, because my crust would have been a lot darker than it is, and it's already pretty dark. So I didn't want that to happen. That's why I cooked it. Probably the last 20 minutes had this foil around the outside. So anyhow, it's very hot right now, so we're going to let it cool. And in the meantime, I'm going to get all my other ingredients ready to make the other recipe of pumpkin pie, because like I said, we're going to have a taste test tonight. Bob's going to taste a piece from each pie, and we'll see which one he likes the best, and I'll see which one I like the best, and we'll figure that out. We'll let you know. I'll be back with you in just a few minutes. Okay, y'all, I'm back, and I'm ready to start the second pumpkin pie. And I wanted to show you, I know last year, I think it was last February, I had a big Pampered Chef online party, and I bought a whole bunch of different Pampered Chef items. I already had a lot from years past, but I bought some more. And I made it so that instead of me getting any kind of rewards from the party, it made it where y'all could get a discount. I think it was like a 25% discount if you ordered by a certain date. So I'm going to talk to my Pampered Chef lady again and see if we can do something similar. And I'll be able to post out there and give you the dates. But I wanted to show you this cool tool that I got. Of course, you know, I love my batter bowl, which got the nice handle. But let me show you this other thing. This is the most amazing little can opener. You just put it on and just turn like this all the way around the can. And you can tell when it gets back, then it gets real loose. And then you just pop it up, and it takes the whole lid off the can, which is awesome. And then you can just let go of it over in the trash can by twisting it backwards like that. And I love this thing. I use it every time I need to open a can. Actually, it's great. So anyhow, I just wanted y'all to see that neat little tool. It's a great can opener. So let me clean up this mess I made where I dropped that. I normally just drop it right into the trash can, but I want y'all to see how easy it lets go of that lid. So, all right, so now we're just going to do very similar to what we did before. Just gonna put some pumpkin in here. I'm glad I'm doing this because I had bought a whole case of pumpkin. This helps use up some of my cans of pumpkin doing this little taste test. Okay, so that's my pumpkin. Then we're going to pour in this whole can of evaporated milk. and then 3/4 of a cup of sugar, two eggs, which I've already broken up in here, and then for our spices, well, first we're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then I've got a teaspoon of cinnamon, a 1/2 teaspoon of ginger, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of cloves. These cloves are pretty strong. You don't need a whole bunch. So let me stir this up. And like I've done before, I've already prepared a pie shell. Let me get it over here so you can see. I've already got a pie shell in the pie plate. This appears to be a little bit juicier. Yeah, this has a lot more liquid to it. So now just pour this right in the pie shell. And again, this is a deep dish pie shell, which you will need because you can see it just about filled it all the way up there. So, and again, I've got the oven on 425, and I will cook it for 15 minutes on 425, then turn it down to 350, and I think it cooks for about 40 minutes again. We'll see what it says. I think that's about right. Anyhow, I'll check it with the knife to make sure it's comes out clean before I take it out of the oven. But I will let y'all know how it does and get back with you in just a little bit. Okay, I just took the second pie out of the oven, and as you can see, it comes out clean too. So it's done. I think it looks a little prettier on top than the other one. Let me put them side by side so you can see the difference here. So they're both dark. This one has a little bit different texture to the top here. And I did let this crust get a little bit browner before. I put the tinfoil thing, the little tinfoil cover, I put it on this one right when I turned the oven down to 350. And on this one I didn't do it until about maybe 10 minutes after that, when I started noticing it was getting really brown. So anyhow, I think it's going to be interesting to do our taste test tonight, and I will film it. It's going to be a while before we do that, but anyhow, they've got to cool off. And I'll tell you, I think one reason a lot of people, well, I say a lot, I don't really know for sure, but I know for me, one reason I didn't like pumpkin pie for the longest time was because it was always right out of the refrigerator and it was cold. And to me, pumpkin pie tastes the best when it's warm, or at least room temperature. It's delicious when it's warm and you put some Cool Whip on it, or you know, some other sort of whipped topping, or even vanilla ice cream. That's when it's really good. But anyhow, we'll taste it tonight and I'll give you the results. Hey y'all, I tasted both the pies from yesterday, and one of them, you know, had a better texture, one of them had a better flavor, one was a little sweeter than the other. So I am trying to put together the perfect pumpkin pie. So I am playing around with the recipes and just coming up with something that I think should taste good. So we'll see how it turns out. And I'm gonna have a taste test at my sewing group on Friday. I'll let them taste all 3 pies. I don't think I'm gonna make a 4th one, but we'll see how this 3rd one turns out. And then I'll know for sure which recipe I'm going to use in my cookbook. So what I'm starting with today is I went ahead and baked a pie shell ahead of time. I got a little bit too brown, but I'll know next time exactly when to cut it off. I made the mistake of letting it cook an extra 10 minutes after I took the weights out of it, and I should have probably only done it about 5 to 6 minutes. But live and learn. It'll still taste great. It's not burned, it's just a little more brown than I would want it to be. So I'm gonna move this down here where you can see what I've got. I've already put 3/4 of a cup of light brown sugar in this bowl. I'll turn you down just a little bit so you can see good what I'm doing. Okay, so I've got 3/4 of a cup of light brown sugar in this bowl. And now I'm going to add in spices. So I did a different mix of spices. I put a teaspoon of cinnamon, a 1/2 teaspoon of ginger, and then just a little, probably not even 1/8 teaspoon of allspice and nutmeg and cloves. So just a little bit of those stronger spices so that it doesn't overpower too much. So we'll see how this does. I'm hoping it's going to be good. And then I'm also going to stir in 1 tablespoon of just all-purpose flour. And this will just help thicken the pie up a little bit better, I think, when it starts cooking. So I'll get this stirred in really good. And now I'm going to add in a whole can of pumpkin. It's the same exact pumpkin I used in the other 2 pies. And don't get me wrong, the other 2 pies were good. There was just, you know, when you're tasting them side by side, you can really compare the 3 things that are important, which is the texture and the sweetness and the spices or flavor that it has. So I don't want spices so much that they overpower it, but yet I want it to have that good fall pumpkin flavor to it. And now I'm going to put in 3 eggs, so this should make this fluff up a little bit better. And I'm using heavy cream. I got 1 cup and 1/4 of heavy cream. And then I'm also going to add a little vanilla, about 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. Why? Because we just love vanilla, don't we? It's good in everything you bake. So get this stirred up and pour it into that pie shell. It's soupy like the second pie was. More soupy than the first one. But hopefully that little bit of flour will help it thicken up good. This one, since we've already baked the pie crust, we don't have to put it in at 425 to start with. We're just going to put it right in a 350-degree oven. So it'll cook longer and slower. So it'll cook about 50 minutes, I believe. I'll watch it to see for sure. And I will put my tin foil around the edges because I don't really want that crust to get any more brown than it already is. See if this will all fit in that pie crust. Ooh, it's getting full. I'm afraid to put that last little dab in there because I think it's going to overflow. With those 3 eggs, it's probably going to puff up. So we're right at the edge over here, especially on this side where my pie crust is a little lower. So if you have more pie crust and it's out all the way around the edge, you could probably fill all of this, but I used a store-bought pie crust and they just don't make them big enough for these deep dish pies. So my oven is ready. I'm going to go ahead and stick this in, and then I'll get back with you when it's time to bring it out. Okay, y'all, I just took it out of the oven and it looks awesome. Smells great. I put my knife in it. It came out nice and clean. So it's got it cool. It's very, very hot right now. So I will test it later this evening. Hey y'all, I'm back. Just wanted to give you the results of the pie tasting. The pie number 1, which had the Eagle brand in it, got a lot of votes from my sewing ladies. Some of the other pies got some good votes too. So basically it's number 1, I think, is the one that won, but we got rave reviews over the other 2 pies too. So it's just a matter of just make a pie, y'all. Just make a pie and enjoy it. You can't go wrong with any of those 3 recipes. I'll make a decision before I do my cookbook and have the one that I like the best in the cookbook. So just want to let y'all know. Love you. Have a great afternoon, and I'll see you soon.